Sí, señor. Sí, señor. Español. Bueno, ahí está. Esas no de gana.
Voilà.
Alright, you can see where I scored the outer edge, so I'll have a good line to follow on my first weld that'll make kind of everything else that you follow very important. These rods are pretty forgiving for the price they damn well better be, but I didn't really have to get it this clean, but I like to stick to kind of doing procedure instead of relying on my rods to do the work for me. So, you know, just kind of, you start taking shortcuts, you're going to continue taking more shortcuts. The more you do, the faster you're going to get anyway, the better you're going to get, but there ain't no sense in taking shortcuts, so there's a difference. Alright, that's 3 passes, one on top of each other. The trick to this is you gotta first off be comfortable. Get comfortable. And you want to be able to see. You got to be able to see well. Alright, and the next thing is always look in front of your weld, back and forth. Look at your puddle, where your puddle's at, and then look ahead. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If you just look at the puddle, you're gonna fall off. Okay, so the reason I did my 3 passes, because I found out with this 532 rod, after 3 passes, that's the height that I'm going to need to profile it. And now that I can run the rest of stack the other welds coming this way, coming forward to me, all the way to the lands, is it gives a good shelf to weld to. So that way it keeps it consistent. So I still got the slag on there. So I just take the grinder. Like that. And at this point, I'm technically ready for my next weld, but I'll just kind of come in here. Knock a few of them BBs out of the way. Like I said, these rods are pretty forgiving, and I'll be damned at $5 a pop, they better be. So I am going to let them do some of the work. This is actually looking very well. Cosmetically, it may seem a little quote-unquote rough at this moment, but that's to be expected at this point because of the circumstances of the ductile iron meeting the nickel. Yeah, this has no structural integrity other than the fact that you don't want it to detach or have any cracks, so it's going well to plan and looking very well at this point. At this stage, it could be far worse. I wouldn't ask for it to be any better at this point, really, to be honest with you. It's not an X-ray process, but still, it's there. These are the electrodes I'm using. I'm using a Miller Bobcat gas welder, and I'm running at about 215 amps. As I mentioned before, this first pass back here is a triple pass overlay, and then this next one is going to be a double pass overlay, and then another double pass overlay, and then a single, staggering my tie-ins.
And yeah, so, and then on the final pass right here on the very edge, I'll V-groove it just a little bit with the grinder, and I'll run it in there, and it won't get any undercut along this edge, and it'll be just as smooth as glass, and I won't have to do any kind of cleanup or anything. I can just use that roll as that edge. But this backside's got to have a grind edge sharp to profile, and then kind of a chamfer so that to receive the seal, the rubber seal that comes in here and closes off the valve so it don't cut it.
And if you get any high spots, like for your tie-ins, like right here, you're better off cleaning it off, just smoothing it down at this point, rather than go ahead and run your next passes out here and then smoothing it off. That way all this comes together so much smoother at the end. Yeah, you know, people may ask, what am I doing on my stops and starts? And I just take my thumb and I just typically, I have a habit of just kind of flicking off the very tip of the rod right there. So it just makes it easier, quicker on the start, most consistent. And then on my starts, I will start up here and then run back into the weld and then proceed. That way it stays, the tie-in stays most consistent.
Oh, and one thing more, these rods are more like kind of a flat jet rod, so you don't step, push or pull. You basically, well, you kind of push a little bit, but it's almost, well, you got the angle you got, having to, you know, deal with the treachery of down in this hole here. But the thing is, you want to think like robot. You know, just try to be as smooth and consistent as you possibly can, and progressive. By that I mean exponential. So whenever I run my first pass, I'll run it at normal speed, what I typically would run. But the second pass, I would run it a little faster, and as I move up further and further towards this inner edge to the front, that second pass will get progressively faster and faster and faster so that it stays even. And I mean, I could do all of them the same, but I got a lot of grind work to do after. So what I'm trying to do is profile this thing the best I possibly can with the welding technique, so that I got a lot less grinding to do once I'm finished.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, like I say, like right here, I'll start running this one. The first pass, I'll run it the normal speed, and the second pass, I'll run, that's on the over the top of it, I'll run it a little bit faster. And like on these little short stops right here, I'll just grab one of my shorter rods to finish off with instead of cranking on a new rod with that. And at my stop here, I'll hesitate for just a couple, just for maybe a second. I'll hesitate so it doesn't leave a flat or a suck pocket, and it'll fill in real good.
Yeah, you see how I kind of poot skinny ran that one over the top right there? Yeah, it leaves a little witness. That's what we want, and that's getting the right elevation. And also, don't take these BBs off the back until you're finally done, because those BBs are going to collect other BBs and less cleanup you got to do.
It's what's for lunch. Oh, that good gumbo though. Mine is good gumbo.
Okay, now at this point, the welding should be done. If I've done everything the way it's supposed to be, I really shouldn't have to do any more welding. Remember what I told you earlier about the BBs collecting themselves? And just minimal cleanup there. So, at this point, these little shadows here, the high-lows, the witnesses, that looks like it's high, like it's deep, but it's really not. A couple swipes with the grinder and that stuff goes away. It's really close, really close. And so now it's all about profiling and getting the trueness. All right, after my first grind pass, that's not bad. Not bad, guys. A little light right there. It's a little low. But I want to check this before I go too much further. I want to find out, do I need to keep grinding a little more in certain areas? Or do I need to come back and not grind, but touch up some of the little small spots where I don't want to keep grinding everything down? But I noticed over here in the back that I might have to add just a little bit right there because it's got just a little sink in it. But Man, this is that's very good for first without any extra adage steps. You know, you get it right the first time, and it's less work on your body. Okay, I'm going to touch these spots with the weld. I'll be turning my amperage down to about 190, so that way it stands a little taller and doesn't get any undercut, and I don't have to hold it there quite as long to officiate that it won't be getting any undercut. And then I'll grind those spots smooth, and then I'll flush it all up the rest of the way out. Now that I've got that cleaned up, I've marked the areas that need to be taken down just a little bit now. And once I got that pretty close, I'll finish it up with the flat disc. I'll start with an aggressive flat disc and then finish with a finishing flat disc.
Yeah, there, that's much better. Now, I'll put the aggressive flat disc on and go sweep back and forth evenly. And it'll show a few witnesses, and you can mark those witnesses and then swoop them until the witnesses go away, and then put on your finishing flat disc, which I have over there. But remember, always keep your grinder even, so you're not going one way or the other way, back and forth, getting too aggressive, digging in, and keeping it moving. You keep it moving, don't hold it in one spot very long. What are you doing? There you go. Don't hold it in one spot very long, just keep it moving. That's freaking beautiful. All right, now to turn this around and profile that front side. I got something I get in there. Knock most of the BBs loose, so I ain't got to do much grinding. Now I'll hit this front profile, sweep it back and forth with the grinder, and then detail with a rotary file up in here. And in case you don't know, that's the rotary file right there. Alright, now to finish the rest of it, this guy getting up in them corners. You got to be careful with this one, because on this side it'll try to jump over up onto the face. This side usually going to try to go this way, you know, try to kick out this way. But this side you really got to be holding on to it. Okay, now there's only 2 more steps to come back in 45, put a chamfer on this edge right here all the way around with that rotary file from the inside, and then to do the last finish and check for your high lows, anything on here. It'll be complete. Trick with that rotary file is to move pretty quick back and forth rapidly, and don't bear down, because this nickel is pretty soft, and if you do, it will dig right in big time. Now I have tools that could do this job even better, but considering they didn't ask me to bring a toolbox or any of my stuff up here other than my welding shield and PPE, I'm using their stuff, and it's working good enough for me, and they're proud of it. They love it. So this is all going to be recoated anyway. So yeah, there you have it, guys. That's a finished one. This is the 5th one I've done, and all of them have passed the leak test and the QC inspection. So none have come back yet, so that's good.